Hey, and welcome to map 17 of Doom 2, Tenements. So this level is fairly fun. I'd argue it's not one of the better levels in Doom 2, but I certainly don't think it's one of the weakest. It falls kind of in the middle for me. So at the minute we're just opening this secret door to try and cause some damage to those spectres down there. So you can see there's a supercharge in the middle of that room there, which obviously we can't get to. So as we walk down here, the door shuts behind us and it opens up a bit of an ambush. And this is a proper ambush as well, because you've got to run into the right teleporters. Run into the wrong ones and you end up right next to all those enemies there. So in the beta version of this level, all these spectres here are kind of stuck together in like one big glomp. And it's pretty funny, because it makes them super easy to take out. And yes, this is the beta version of this level. Surprisingly, there aren't that many differences between this and the final level. The logic there, I guess, is that this was completed fairly early in development, and it's just kind of it just needed a bit of tidying up. One thing I like about this level is that at the start, if you're pistol starting, it is quite aggressive. So you've got all these cacodemons and you don't have that much ammo. You don't have the super shotgun here. So taking on these guys is actually a bit of a pain. As you can see, they are doing a decent old job here of shooting me with their little fireballs. So yeah, that trap room is actually pretty nasty. It's actually one of the better traps in Doom 2, I'd argue, because the first time you wander in there, you really won't have any idea what you're doing, and it'll take a few attempts for you to figure out that you have to run into the right teleporter. Run into the wrong one and you get sort of teleported off to the sides where there's chain gunners, there's a pain elemental, there's a cacodemon, and a few shotgunners there. And it's not nice. So yeah, this level gets points for this, I think. It's a very nasty trap, but it's, I mean, we're on map 17 here, so by this point you kind of want to see some spice, don't you? So they've killed the pain elemental over there, that's why we didn't see it. You see, you can use the teleporters to navigate around. The white teleporters lead you up here, and the red ones take you back out to the start. We will be coming back in here from that way later on. That actually will loop around. But for now, we're just going to make our way out. We're going to take care of all these spectres here. If you don't take care of them here, they will just charge you when you go down the lift in a second. And that's not too nice. So as you can see, we've done a nice job there. We got a berserk here, so I am going to... Ooh, he was taking off quite a bit of health there, wasn't he? Now this is something I don't like about this level. So you see this imp that just came down here. As soon as we come up here, we're ambushed by all these imps. Now you can kill them from down below, but as you can probably guess, we don't really have that much ammo. We're not really gifted that much ammo at the start of the level here. So it is a bit of a tall ask, asking the player to take care of those imps before heading down that lift. Otherwise, what happens is they'll just start scratching you and take what little health you've got left. That, I think, is a bit mean. And not the good kind of mean, the mean kind of mean. And it's little things like that that kind of stop this level from being, like, one of the greats, in my opinion. There's just a bunch of, like, little things that probably should have been ironed out between this and the final release, but really weren't. So, from here, you kind of have to do a bit of detective work. You have to be willing to drop down into this toxic patch on the right hand side here to hit this switch, and then hit this hidden switch here to progress forward. I think that that's, again, mean. And I'm using that word very specifically because a lot of players probably won't want to drop into the toxic, because by this point they've been taught not to drop into the toxic, and there's nothing really down there to make the player curious enough to drop down there. So I actually think that hiding that switch there is kind of weird. It's a very weird choice in my opinion. This level has a lot of those like little moments where it's like they could have just done it in a very straightforward way, but instead they chose to do it in a way that doesn't really make much fun for the player. It just kind of obstructs the player from moving on. So there's a pain elemental down here, and we're gonna have to take care of it because you can hit the switch from the top if you line dead, but I wanted to show just what a bit of a nasty trap this one is. This level's got all these little traps that are here to kind of catch you off. So what we're going to do, we're going to take down the pain elemental here, and then we'll deal with the lost souls. Okay. We wasted quite a bit of ammo on that. That's not fun. So you grab the blue key here, and you're pretty much done with this area, except for a little bit at the end of the level. You can see the yellow door there is locked off, but the blue door here, there's a bunch of enemies high and low here. Now, my gripe with this area is that, well, there's actually two big gripes, and we'll talk about them as we kind of pass through them. So you can hear there's an arachnotron down in that toxic pit there, which is fine. It's fine. But as you can see, you wander up here, and in order to progress, you've got to turn around, run down the stairs, run in here, and then you've got to raise this switch here, which opens up the other side and lets you carry on. I think that's a bit... I don't like that. I think that's a bit obtuse, because players might not notice that door opening up behind them, and it will just hold them up. It's another thing, I think, that was designed to kind of torment the player rather than kind of actually add to the fun of the level. There's a pain elemental here. We're going to get rid of it because we really don't want to let this into the level. There's a nice backpack behind it. So you can see this actually leads back to that area we were talking about earlier on. So you can see there, that's the trap room from the start of the level. This drops you down on the other side of where that where the blue sphere was. We're now going to head around here. So here comes my second big gripe with this area. The arachnotron can actually block you from dropping down, which, so if you're not aware, in Doom and Doom 2 Vanilla, the enemies are kind of infinitely tall, so that means that even if you try to run over them, you'll get blocked. Now, a lot of the source ports have fixed this over the years, but it does seem kind of bizarre to me that they put an enemy there that can block you, that can shoot up at you like that. It just feels a bit like they designed that with that in mind, and that's a limitation that really shouldn't have been there in the first place, in my opinion. So it's kind of weird to build a part of a level around that. Plus, I'm not a fan of the fact that you have to fight the arachnotron in the toxic, which, you know, toxic flow encounters for me are kind of, they should only ever be used if the player's been handed a bunch of ammo, and you kind of are before that one, so it's not so bad, but I still think it's a fairly weak encounter. Anyway, we've made it through to this part here, and as you can see, there's another ambush here with cacodemons and pain elementals. For my money, the pain elementals are very underrated as a threat, because the more lost souls they pump into a level, the more ammo you're wasting. And yeah, this one here is really kind of looking for the looking to fill this level with lost souls, which I'm not a fan of. Luckily, if you know what you're doing, there's a bunch of secrets, like the secret switch that lets you get to this BFG here, so you can make this level a lot easier as you're passing through to the end of it. So, interesting fact, this takes you up here, which is really great. But as we'll see in a second, there's actually a teleporter that doesn't actually work at all. And to my knowledge, I think that actually made it to the release of Doom 2, like the actual full retail release, and then was updated in one of the updates. So we'll walk down here. If you drop down here, you'll see that there's a teleporter here. It doesn't work. It's not actually activated as a teleporter. So if you drop down here, you're actually trapped. This was actually, like I said, I think this was fixed in one of the updates, the updated WODs that came after the release of Doom 2, but it's kind of funny that that made it all the way to that point. Another small change, which we'll talk about when we jump in there, they've actually taken away the Megasphere. Or they haven't put it in yet, whichever way you want to view it. Because there's a Megasphere right at the end of this level, which you can grab, and it actually makes the next level a lot easier if you bring it in with you. I don't know what to make of this ending. As a kid, this used to confuse me, because it's kind of like you have to cross over line devs to open other little sections that then you have to keep walking backwards and forwards. That ending part there has changed a bit as well, because it's a teleporter in the finished level. So when you come in here in the retail version, you actually pick up a Megasphere, which isn't here, but it's fun to kind of acknowledge it. You can't actually go back, so you've got to actually go all the way around the level, which, you know, it is what it is. But honestly, Tenements for me is one of those middle of the road levels. There's a bunch of little gripes that kind of stop me from loving this level. I don't think it's bad, and you know, it is a challenge if you're pistol starting on ultraviolence. But for my money, I definitely don't put it in like the top level in Doom 2. But I'd love to know what you guys think of this beta version of the level. It's remarkably similar to what the final release would end up being, obviously with a bit of tidying up thrown in. It's one of those levels that I think you remember. It's not super iconic, but it's fun. So we're going to dive into the PS1 version of this level here, and generally this level is pretty similar, apart from a few texture changes and mood lighting here and there. This is a quite faithful recreation of the PC version of this level. Obviously you can see there's no door at the entrance there. I'm actually going to take these guys out, because in this version, I don't know if it's just because of the differences in the way that the game operates, but they are very aggressive when you try and come up the lift that will be going up in a bit. You can actually cheat the system here by not having the door shut, and you've done it there. If you don't go over the line dev at the end of the step, you can actually stop that thing from coming down. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but it's something that you can do if that takes your fancy. So we're going to take care of all these spectres here. You can see in the time between the beta and this version, they've been freed from their eternal trap. So we'll open that lift down there. So I am going to try and herd these cacodemon up here, but right now I think my aim should be just to get down here. So this is what happens if you come down here and you don't shoot them through that window. You end up kind of becoming lunch for them, and you end up losing quite a bit of health, and if you've lost health already in that trap room, it might be the end of your adventures in this level, at least in that incarnation. So what I recommend is maybe just use the window. But because we've taken down the imps up here, you can see nothing shooting at us. In this version, I found that they generally tend to be a lot more aggressive. They are more willing to shoot right down on you. So the aim here is just to get rid of these cacodemons before they kind of spill into the rest of the level. So yeah, the main aim here is just to get rid of these guys. I actually don't want to waste all my ammo here. So what I'm going to do, we're going to come up here and grab the med packs, and then we're going to head outside. So one way there is to make this level a tiny bit easier is if we head over here and grab these shotgun shells, it'll wake all the enemies up down there. But here's the thing, they will actually follow us through the level. So provided that, like, you know, we have enough ammo to deal with them, it's actually a nice way to get hold of the shotgun without having to wander too far into the level. So you see they're all sort of coming in here. Because we got rid of the chain gunner, we've actually made it a bit easier for ourselves here. First things first is to get rid of the chain gunner there. Get rid of the imps at the bottom there. So you see that Caco Demon went and explored over there, but now it's come back. This room generally, I think, looks better in this version of the Doom 2, just because I think that the mood lighting, the shadow, the better use of shadows and shading here, I think it just looks better. Like I can imagine that this was probably what they were shooting for mentally when they made this trap, because this is a very intimidating room with this lighting, but it looks a bit flat in the PC version. That's just my opinion anyway. So we'll grab the ammo there and the health packs. Yeah, it's quite easy to lose your bearings there if you're just staring at the wall. Actually want to grab the health here, just because it'll make the next part of the level a bit easier to get through if we have near full health. So we'll tear down these shotgunners here. Now, one change I do like in this version, and you'll see it here, is that at the bottom there's actually ammo boxes, and I think that's a much better way of handling this area. If you're going to make people dive into toxic, you've got to give them a reason to do that. And if you click that, you see it open. You can just click that. You don't even have to go into the toxic if you really don't want to. So that brings this up here. So I actually want these boxes of ammo. You know what, let's grab this here, just in case we end up falling down that hole again. So this area is by and large the same, although there's no pain elementals. You'll notice on this level that pain elementals have been generally sacrificed in order to, you know, add more Caco Demons to the mix. What I want to do here is quickly get rid of the Caco Demons. So there are some chain gunners up on the sides there, and if you don't kill them, they are actually a bit of a pain in the backside, because they will kind of come away and chip at your health. We'll wait a minute and see if that one pops back out. So you can see that chain gunner there. Just want to see if his friends come out. He has. It's worth getting rid of them because the bars in the middle there will not protect you from being shot at across the way, and that's just health you don't really want to be losing. So we've got the blue key here, which means we can leave this part of the level behind. And we're going to be heading over to the blue door over here. But first things first, I'm going to get rid of these guys here. It'll just make things a lot easier if I can get rid of the guys hanging around in these cages. But you can see visually this part of the level is very much intact as well. It's interesting which levels end up being modified and which ones don't end up being modified. Because remember, unlike with Ultimate Doom, there wasn't actually like a Jaguar port to base the levels off of, so a lot of this would have been done in-house by the Williams team. So they changed this ever so slightly, so you still have to run down here like an idiot to grab this. But now the thing doesn't actually pop up, it just opens up there. I actually think that's worse, because that could easily be missed by the player. Like, if players aren't being super observant, they may not see that switch open up and they may not realise what's actually happened. So, I don't know, I think that's a slightly weaker way of doing it. So as we head down these different pathways, I think there's a Cacodemon here, or the Cacodemon that we saw floating out earlier may have been the one that was there. We may have triggered that one a bit earlier. But you can see this isn't a Pain Elemental, this is actually just a Cacodemon again. As said, one of the things that Doom 2 on PS1 likes to do, it likes to limit the number of enemies on one level, so sometimes it'll just swap certain enemies for other enemies. And you can see there's no Arachnotron here, instead it's just a bunch of chain gunners, which I guess you see the chain gunner there loves sniping through these bars. So we're just going to get rid of this. So with no Pain Elementals on this level, it should actually be a lot easier to get through the back end of this level, because remember, when we did the beta version of this level, we had to deal with that Pain Elemental that was blocking our way here. So you can see it's the same trap as before, only now there's only 2 Cacodemons. I think there's a third one. I'm not quite sure where that one's gone. Maybe he saw the oncoming storm and was like, not for me, not for me. Sometimes you can run over there and save yourself having to run around, but, you know. I should get the BFG actually. So yeah, the way you find the BFG is to hit this switch here and then head through. Ah, there's the other Cacodemon. I did wonder where it had made its way off to. I'm guessing it probably thought that was the right path to get to me. It was not. But this is a pretty cool spot to grab a BFG if you, for some reason, haven't grabbed one already. So we'll take care of that chain gunner there. Take care of that chain gunner there. So, okay. It's not an Archvile in this version. It is literally just a Cacodemon. So we'll head on here. Dope. So we'll head in here, you can see there's the Megasphere, very useful. The next level is probably one where you'd actually want to use it, so it's a good idea to leave that as late as possible. But obviously since I'm pistol starting each of these levels, it doesn't really matter, does it? So all we need to do is do this puzzle again. Again, I'm not a fan of this puzzle, I think it's a bit too abstract, I think it's just a bit silly, but It's Doom 2. Doom 2 is very weird in that like it throws a lot of these silly ideas out, and then you'll never see them again. Like this is is there any other puzzle like this in any of the retail Doom games? It's a very odd way to end a level, this, I think. But that's Tenements on the PS1. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this level. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on Tenements. Do you think it's a great level? Do you think it's a weak level? Do you prefer the PS1 version and all the changes it made? Or do you think that the beta was pretty great? Personally, like I said, not one of my favourite levels, but certainly one that I have fun with whenever I get around to playing it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.